Why sumo? Why sumo? Yeah! Yeah! Why are you into sumo? Why you in that ring? Wearing that mawashi, man, it's your thing. You're stomping the ground, you're slapping your thighs. The crowd goes wild and I can't deny. Big men, big moves, earth shaking grow. Why sumo? Tell me why you're doing sumo. Is it power?
Hello, and welcome to Why Sumo, a podcast interview with some of the people that, I've met throughout the years, people that are very precious to me. I see them, and it feels like I see them multiple times a year in my soul, but usually it's one time per year, but it's like a family reunion, but with a family that you actually want to be around. So, with no further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Dax of Portland Sumo.
Good morning, Jay.
Good morning. Good morning.
So here we are. I'm Dax. I'm with Portland Sumo up here in Portland, Oregon. We run 3 practices a week, and we've got some great partnership going up here with some of the local dojos. And I'm happy as heck to be here. Get a chance to talk about sumo with you.
Yeah, recently I saw you guys in a judo club, but it looked like it was like a hangar, like an airplane hangar. Can you talk about that and how you guys were able to mesh in with them?
Absolutely. So one of the things, like I said, we've managed to have some great partnerships, and one of them is with Bridgetown Judo, which is a local judo school here in Portland, and they're over in the industrial northwest area. And yeah, their dojo does kind of look a bit like a hangar. I'm not sure the story behind the building itself, but we had been working with an MMA gym, but we got the news that they were going to have to be changing locations or possibly shutting down. So we put out the feelers to the local martial arts community, and Bridgetown was one of the ones that said, hey, would be happy to have you here at least one day a week. And so they became our second partner in that, and the first, of course, being the School of Budo as well. So we went from a pretty good, pretty okay MMA gym to 2 really nice dojos. Very fortunate in that.
All right, the $1 million question. What got you into sumo?
What got me into sumo? Well, I like to joke around about the fact that as I gain weight, I try to stay in the light heavyweight division. So I got heavy enough to where sumo was my only option. But truthfully, a couple decades ago, I was doing sambo and submission wrestling and competing locally. And my father had sent me some article he had found. I think it was on from a PBS or NPR show talking about amateur sumo. And the picture was of a gentleman, and I'm going to butcher this name, and I apologize, but I believe it's Svetov Binov. He was in the States doing this with USA Sumo. And he's like, see, you don't have to be this big heavy guy to do sumo. And that got me interested. So I started reading books on sumo and all that, and became fascinated with the culture and with there's an elegance in the simplicity, but in the simplicity lies a complexity in the move sets. And
yes,
that economy just fascinated me. I'm like, I have got to learn how to do this. And it took a while for me to finally find a club here in the local area. I had no luck starting one initially because everyone, when I'd say, "Hey, let's do sumo," they thought it was inflatable suits.
Right.
But after that, I floated around. I kept doing my submission work and all that, and I went to a sake and sumo event
Mm,
and uh, met Andrew Frund and said, "Hey, we'd emailed a little while ago about a club." He was like, "Oh yeah, those guys over there are doing sumo in Portland." And I met the first generation of Portland sumo guys, and
nice.
kind of went from there. And I'll always remember that night because it's a night that I actually got into a sumo club, and also the night that Biamba basically choke slammed me in a demo match. Uh,
I've had matches with Bayamba, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. There's something fierce and terrifying about a man so big with a six pack, and you're just like, okay.
I have never, and all respect to him, rest his soul, I had never experienced a man of that size move so fast in my life.
Right? Yeah.
It's just like one moment we're tied up, the next moment I'm looking and I'm counting the lights on the ceiling. So, but I wouldn't
He
change
used to
that. Would
yell at me, and he
really.
would say, uh, "No judo, no judo, no judo." I was like, that's just all I know. That's all I know. I'm trying to do sumo. I just don't know what I'm doing. Uh, Dax, what do you think are the biggest barriers of entry for sumo?
The biggest barriers of entry, realistically, is just self doubt.
Hmm.
I think sumo is one of the most approachable uh, grappling sports and martial arts that there is. The techniques are easy to understand. The rule set is very clear. I just think that it's people doubting themselves. I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not in shape enough. Um, because otherwise, I mean, realistically, once you learn the fundamentals, which is essentially just all right there in the warm ups, Butskari, Soriashi, Shiko, right there is your basic Yorakiri moveset.
Right.
So you learn it from day one, the most common winning technique, and you practice it every practice. So you don't have to be super talented at grappling. You don't have to be super fit. The fitness comes with practice. Everything comes with the dedication and with the commitment to keep doing it. I just think people talk themselves out of it because they feel like they're not, like I said, in shape or big enough or whatever. We have, lightweight Rikishi. We have, you know, uh, female Rikishi in different weight classes. We're all different sizes, shapes, strength levels,
Hmm.
ages. You know, there's no reason to not at least get out and try it. And if you don't like it, hey, that's fine. That's probably not for everybody, though I think it is.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's for everyone. I think that it might be one of the best um, sports to watch as a spectator because it's like just all fireworks. It's all
Hmm.
fireworks. Like the longest match might be a minute and a half. I've seen it, right? But even in that minute and a half, it's like do or die, 100% effort. Like it's always good. And then the especially when you start getting with different sizes of people, where you're like in your head you go, big guy will win. No, not necessarily, depending on the technique. And it's all about in a sport where you're giving, like in judo terms, 100% kazushi, right? The off balance, because you're pushing forward so much. There's a lot of variables there. So
Absolutely.
I find it fascinating. And speaking within the variables of sumo, what is your favorite kimarite winning technique?
Ooh. Um, when I first got into sumo, I wanted to be one of those flashy, throw guys. I wanted to be like the judo guys. Um, But even when I was doing grappling with Scott Dinger and the team earlier on, I was never really that guy.
Mm.
So I've pretty much translated my style into a very Oshizumo heavy style, where I just burrow in and drive, and I might go for a throw when the opportunity arises.
Hmm.
But I would say I've been having really good luck lately with, and you'll forgive me, I forget the Japanese term for it, but it's essentially the armbar throw from kind of an overhook.
Kotanage.
Thank you. Yeah, I find myself in that position a lot because, and I don't feel like I'm going to give away any of my game plan here because I think everybody's pretty much seen enough of me on the videos getting my butt whooped. But I find myself at an angle sometimes, and they'll have that inside grip, and I'll just
Mm.
overhook that, and and most, I think a lot, I won't say most, but I think a lot of people, once they get the mawashi, they like sink it in with that death grip, and I
Yeah.
really want you to do that, especially if I'm on the Tawara, because I'm going to get that overhook and switch the hips and just try to guide you right over that little bump.
There's a big correlation with Sabari and Kotanage, just because of the chaos factor with
Yeah,
pushing the hands, and then from there, eventually someone's going to just want it to stop. Right? Nobody wants hands thrown at them for too long, so they're going to want it to stop. Which one of the ways to stop it is to grab the mawashi, and as they grab the mawashi, generally you're taught underhook over overhook, so they'll grab the underhook, which gives you the kotanage. It's
exactly.
very like poetic. It's almost like in judo, it would be like going for a forward throw to a backwards throw, or in jiu-jitsu doing an armbar triangle omoplata. Right? It falls within that like beauty of that particular sport. As we're talking about the beauty of the sport, let's talk about the highest level of the sport, the pro sumo. Who is your favorite pro sumo wrestler?
Hmm. So I'm going to be very honest in the sense that I do watch the Bashos, but lately I've been going back through and watching a lot of matches from the past,
Okay.
and so we had the opportunity a couple months ago. Noah from Sunflower Sumo Club was swinging through Portland on business, and he dropped in to kind of guest coach a Keiko for us. And he had made that suggestion of looking back to the 60s and 70s and looking at the stylings of some of those Rikishi. Because they weren't quite as large as they are now. You know,
Right.
they tended to be, more my size, your size, not all 300 plus pounders.
Mhm.
So lately, I've been really trying to dig up any matches I can from a Rikishi named Fujinokawa, who fought in the 60s, I believe 1960 to 66. He had a 6-year career. Um, Obviously, Chiyono Fuji was always one of
What
the
a power!
goats. Yeah,
What a powerhouse! What a
absolutely.
absolute powerhouse!
As far as the modern guys, as much as I know everybody says Ionishiki or Ura, I'm gonna have to say I think Midori Fuji.
Okay. Heck
Yeah,
yeah. Heck yeah.
he's I always enjoy his matches.
Yeah, he has a great kataskash. He does. He also understands leverage quite well.
Hmm.
I find his sumo very, very, very pretty.
Yeah,
And it's more consistent than Ura, where Ura will get Ura will get those throws that just haven't been done in like a couple hundred years or whatever, and you're just like, this is crazy, but there's a lot of shakiness to get to that,
yeah,
right? Which Midori Fuji, I think he kind of stays within. in that like that powerhouse. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. So we talked about pro sumo, and I like to think that pro sumo and amateur sumo, they're they're in the same family, but they are different, right?
Hmm.
Technically, amateur sumo is equated to the same as like high school or college sumo on the world stage, which I feel like that's we kind of are just under that international, just the way that I have to perceive it. But
Okay.
that ends up bringing in like you get to battle against people that are like yokozunas. One of the people that I got to share a dojo with is the current Onosato, right? Which
Hmm.
it was fascinating. We knew he was special when we saw him, and he went out to do amazing things. Is there an amateur sumo wrestler, and it could be domestic, international, really doesn't matter, but an amateur sumo wrestler that you like their style, that you're like as a person that enjoys the sport of amateur sumo, every time this guy comes up, you like it?
Um, oh, that's a tough one because usually when I go to the competition, we go to the tournaments, I try to stay in my own little headspace to stay
Mm.
focused. Um, I do watch other matches. I'm not one of those guys that's going to scope out my competition because I think that
That's
just
a
psychs
that's a
people
lose
out.
lose situation. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say that there's three guys that come to mind. Um, Actually, four that come to mind that I try to catch their matches definitely when I can. Seth Adams,
Mhm.
who basically I think I'm internet famous with him for him knocking the holy living heck out of me my first time at Olympia. Uh, Man speared me so hard I think my soul left my body for just a second.
It's like the scene from Doctor Strange. Boosh. Boo.
Pretty much what it felt like. Uh, but nothing but absolute love and respect to him. Jay Scriven,
Mm.
you know, Danny Avila,
Mm-hmm.
who has come to Portland a few times to help us out, and he's just always a pleasure to pick his brain. But I think he's got really strong style, and I don't know his last name off the top of my head, but Eric, I think from Ryzen.
Quinn. Eric
Yeah,
Quinn.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh yeah.
Always been impressed when I get a chance to catch his matches. You know,
Yeah. You picked a whole lot of powerhouses. Like they're all phenomenal. Danny, especially, he's one of those guys that he's the first person I ever did sumo with, and this is when Danny was a true heavyweight and 18. It was terrible. It was I legitimately I think at some point people are going to start making a drinking game for how many times I talk about this, but he hit me so hard that I literally like I couldn't walk ever, like everything in my body kind of shut down. I had to drive back from LA to San Diego. I parked the car in the middle of the street, hobbled into the house, fell asleep for 3 days. That's Danny's touchy eye. That's it changed me as a human being. I think I ended up getting him one match, and it was like the match after that. He's like, "I'm not taking it easy on you anymore," and yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
yeah.
Um, what now? I have another question. Because you're like me, you're trying to grow the sport. You're doing a
Hmm.
lot of work, and I see you guys doing a lot of work. What are you doing for outreach, especially for like youth or women or anything along those lines? What are you guys doing?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Truthfully, we've been relying on a lot of word of mouth, social media, our Instagram, Facebook. We don't really. offer a kids program at this point, though we did do a day camp with the folks from Bridgetown Judo, where Nick String and myself went out and coached the kids in sumo for a day. Nick has been, he's one of our Rikishi, and he has been an absolute treat to have as far as kind of doing the public information officer role. He's been doing the vast majority of our videos that entertain people on Instagram, and we've recently been doing demos for, say, the Asian celebration in Eugene, Oregon, the Oban Festival with our local Buddhist temple, and even the JACL picnic. There's a Japanese Community League picnic, and trying to really connect with that aspect of the community as not only self-promotion, because let's face it, everything, I mean, you have to have a little self-promotion, but also it's a matter of showing respect to those communities. You know, we always want to do our best in sumo. We always want to be solid rikishi, solid grapplers, but we cannot forget the culture or the history of where this sport came from. There should always be that in the, if not in the foreground of your mind, but that should always be part of what you do, because you're not just representing yourself and your club, you're representing a sport that is older than anything else. And there's a lot of tradition and a lot of culture that comes with that. And even if you're not going to do the churichozu every bout for practice, that's fine. But keep in mind what that ritual meant. And that should always be part of it.
Yes, heck yeah. Especially with like our states are very the history runs deep in sumo in Japanese culture, so it's good to honor the past. That was one of the things we did a podcast project called Echoes, the Sumo History Podcast, and there was a lot of sumo happening, and it's one of those things we have to remember that we're not the first people to do sumo here, right? Like that's not how that worked. So I love that. I love that. At this point, we're going to go ahead and put you to a one shot. You're going to let people know where to find you. And then, of course, we're going to end with your beautiful quote, something meaningful, something powerful.
As I said, I'm Dax Erickson with Portland Sumo. You can contact us at our email, portlandsumo@gmail.com. or feel free to swing by one of our practices. Our schedules are posted on Instagram and Facebook, also under Portland Sumo. We look forward to seeing you. Come out, try it. As far as a powerful quote, well, I think I'm going to have to go back to something my father used to tell me all the time as a very doubtful child. He said, "You'll never know unless you get out and do it." And I'll leave you with that.
Why sumo? Tell me why you're doing sumo. Is it power, pride, or show? Why sumo? Every push, every throw, then you're stealing the show.